Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show.
Hey, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so I have Jared Auerbach on the line. He's founder and CEO over at Red's Best. Jared, welcome to the show.
Hey, Adam. Nice to talk to you.
Oh, man. So I'm excited to have you on the show. So I'm excited to get into really to talk about, something that I don't think that we address as much, and that's what's happening in our fisheries and in commercial fishing. So we're going to get into that. But before, just to get us started, maybe give us a little bit more background on Red's Best and tell us a little bit more about your company, please.
Yeah, great. So I started out commercial fishing out of college. I was up in Alaska working on boats and around New England. Grew up in the Boston area. Started Red's Best in 2008. We're direct unloaders of local commercial fishing boats. So guys have a permit. They wake up. They go out, catch fish. When they come in, they want to go home and go sleep or do some gear work and get ready for the next day. We unload their boats, take possession of the fish, aggregate all the fish at our headquarters in Boston, and we sell the fish for them. We're typically, we're referred to as a fish buyer, but we're more often than not, we're not agreeing to a price at the point of unloading the boats. We're selling the fish for these captains and then returning them a price based on the market that day.
So tell us a little bit more about what makes Red's Best unique.
Yeah, so I kind of came into this. This is a really well-established industry with a lot of really big, older, powerful companies. I was kind of coming at it just as a, mid-20s entrepreneur with a refrigerated van and not many connections outside of the fishermen I used to work on the boats. We were coming into the industry at a time when we were, as a country, we were really starting to regulate our species better. So we were collecting a lot of data, and there's a lot of paperwork involved in that. So we came at this and said, maybe we can sort of build some market share and compete with the big guys by getting really, really good at handling a lot of small boats, a lot of little transactions where, the bigger, older, more established companies just didn't want to have anything to do with that, So we built some really cool web-based software where we gather the data in our software at the point of unloading. We can handle these smaller transactions really efficiently. So almost every day during the summer, a fisherman will sell us one fish. And that's the entire transaction, right? And, if it costs you $10 to process that transaction, you're SOL, right? It doesn't work, and certainly doesn't work at scale. Because of this technology we built, we're able to process all these small transactions really, really efficiently and get a large volume of fish and build legitimate infrastructure, but through a lot of small transactions, which is cool in a lot of ways for a lot of reasons. And it allowed us to kind of build some market share as the new guy on the block without stepping on too many toes.
What kind of feedback have you gotten? Because it sounds pretty cool, especially for, the guys that would have maybe been overlooked before. It sounds like you're really championing their cause overall. What kind of feedback have you gotten on this?
Yeah, well, to put it in perspective, on our busiest day last summer, we unloaded 376 different boats. So these are unique transactions in one day. So that's everything from, a guy who owns 3 boats and is a serious business about it, and each boat could be catching thousands of pounds, per landing, down to a guy who just went out and dug some clams after work and has a commercial permit and sold it to us. So it's really cool. This is what I care about. This is what I'm passionate about, is supporting these communities of commercial fishermen. So, it feels good for us that, we've built a company of people who care about that. And it levels the playing field for the smaller boats. So it sort of gives them a voice through aggregated supply, right? And we're able to match that supply with global demand, which leads to stable prices. And we have this amazing quality product, incredibly diverse offerings. We handle everything that swims, crawls, whatever, grows in the ocean that's legally harvested. So we have amazing quality, great diversity, and we're supporting, a community of people that is really important to me. But it's also like all humans dig commercial fishermen, right? Like, I'm not the only one who thinks that's cool, I think, right? Would you agree?
I'm going to have to agree with that one. And I think that's, I'm going to agree with this. And I do want to go, because you do have unique insight, because I think your vantage point of working with so many different, fishermen boats and on different levels, you get to see, things from the top down, but also from the bottom up. So talk to us a little bit more about, the current state of our fisheries and things that we should know.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you asked. I think, unfortunately, a lot of media these days is sort of looking for clicks, and really what I'm trying to say is like people see people often have a negative view of commercial fishing and the state of our oceans, and think anybody involved in it or who spends time on the water will tell you that that's really far from the truth. And it saddens me, because I think Americans are missing out on a great opportunity to be really happy and prideful about something. I mean, the United States is a world leader in fisheries management. There's a couple basic facts that I think Americans deserve to know that they don't. So there's really two important things that people deserve to know. One is something called the Magnuson-Stevens Act, which is a federal law that states that all species of finfish and shellfish that are commercially harvested in the United States are to be managed at a sustainable level. That means just because it would help my business to kill more bluefin tuna, I have zero say in how many bluefin tuna are harvested. These quotas are dictated by councils that use best available science to make sure that these bluefin are fished at a sustainable level. And what's cool is it's a public resource, right? I take part in the harvest and the distribution of these bluefin tuna, but they're no more mine than they are yours, than they are the fisherman who's killing them. And I'm just really proud of the fact that I live in a country where, even though we're free market capitalists, that's not how we interact with the ocean and this amazing natural resource that, we spend a lot of tax dollars and pay a lot of really smart people to make a lot of really hard decisions to have sustainable fisheries, and it works. I mean, the data overwhelmingly shows that it works. And if you go out in a boat and look for yourself, don't look through Google looking for sort of extraordinary negative, clickbaity articles. Go out and look and tell me how you feel. So the Magnuson-Stevens Act is one thing. The other thing is about the EEZ, which is the exclusive economic zone, and that says that other countries are not allowed to harvest seafood within 200 miles of our shores, and that's that's a cool thing to think about, right? As an American, as somebody who really cares about the oceans and the country, that's a cool thing. At least here in New England, there's this outdated misconception that there's foreign trawlers coming into our waters and impacting our fisheries, and that is just not true. So,
tell me a little bit more about what us as consumers can do, just overall when it comes to thinking about helping to sustain fisheries, or even just eating healthy seafood. Educate us a little bit more on that too, because I'll be the first to admit, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's fair, right? And I'm glad to be helping spread this message. I thank you for giving me the platform to spread this message. So Red's Best, we're really proud. We've now, it's been 15 years or so. We've built this platform that can connect all these fishermen to the community, right? We have, 3 facilities. We have the ability to unload and aggregate and process and pack and do everything that needs to be done to give people access to this fish. The biggest thing you can do is be flexible in your consumption, right? Mm-hmm. So first of all, have a little pride. I hope that you walk away feeling good, right? I'm an optimist, right? I see so much good in my day-to-day, travels and in my daily work. I want people to share that pride, right? You deserve to feel good about something. And this is really like a positive story, even though it's often painted in a negative light. But the biggest thing you can do as a consumer is be flexible in what you eat, right? Like if you go out to eat and you go out to dinner and you sit down at the table with a commercial fisherman, what are you going to do? And people do this to me. You open the menu and you ask them what you should eat, right? Say, hey, what should I eat from all the list of 6 different seafood items, right? Right? I mean, that's obvious, right? But that's how we should always consume fish, because too often it's like a demand-driven supply chain, right? The customer says, I want haddock, and then we work backwards towards the ocean and try to, find the supply of haddock to match that demand. And, that as somebody who sits in the middle, me, where I feel an obligation to you, the customer, and an obligation to the fisherman, the supplier. If you're trying to determine what they catch, I'm sitting in the middle and I'll have a misalignment of that supply and demand. Whereas if we just empower these fishermen to go out, follow the rules, be stewards of the sea, take what the ocean gives us, and then we have a base of consumers of demand that will like seamlessly match with that supply. That's just a beautiful thing. But it starts with consumers being flexible, right? So, I need consumers to say, hey, Jared, what are the fishermen landing, right? And I'll say, hey, today you got monkfish, or, and it changes by season, it changes by day, it changes by year. But like, that's the beauty of it, right? That's the draw, that's the mystery, that's the excitement of, again, being, of this amazing world we live in, where we have access to high quality seafood from renewable, sustainable resources. It starts with consumer flexibility.
That's awesome. So, Jared, I have to tell you, this has been great having you on the show, and I appreciate you sharing your unique perspective and vantage point, and really updating us on what's going on in the fisheries. Because, like I said, I don't think this gets enough media attention from the inside. And the only time I ever hear things is typically when you said, like you said, something clickbaity or something else. So I wanted to definitely bring you on to be the voice of these other fishermen, and to be a shining light, just telling a lot of the good that's going on too. So I really appreciate you coming on the show and doing that, Jared. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Love to have you be a return listener. And Jared, seriously, had a great time talking to you. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, likewise.